I see it really as a reflection or a meditation on the trajectory of the last 150 years and how nature is increasingly intruded upon by our technology. Every experience of nature is increasingly mediated or in some way transformed by our hand or our presence. It's not that I necessarily want to return to some nostalgic time before technology. It's more about provoking thought and figuring out in my mind what this is all about. Something that's very important to me with these pieces is the idea of a language. A language essentially is composed of elements and rules by which those elements are combined. So viewing a tree, this organic entity, as a language, and then being able to make new sentences, chapters, books, using those elements and those rules. So rather than looking at a existing tree and saying, I'm going to copy this, it's trying to understand it on a deeper level. Learning that language means studying trees very intensely, being out in nature and studying books, photography, taking photographs, and drawings. There's a large amount of drawing that goes into both, forming an idea and working out issues with an idea. The first tree came out of a drawing in my sketchbook, an idea about this imposter in a forest of real trees. That first tree was placed deep in the Swedish forest. Conjoined grew out of a series of drawings. I started out with an idea that there would be two trees. There would be a couple of rules that would apply. One is that no branch would be free or open. Every branch would tie into the other tree. A lot of people may say, it's in this embrace. But for me, it's actually much more of, if anything, a grappling between these two and a conflict between these two. It actually came from a period in my life that was filled with conflict. You can read it in different ways. I like to create a situation which is very fertile for interpretation or metaphor, but without being explicit or dictating what that metaphor might be. I think it's most interesting in this situation where you have the intense urban environment and then this constructed nature park. There is a very interesting dynamic here. Let's call it defunct. That is a tree that is almost dead and is playing host to a variety of fungus. Many of its branches are broken off, fractured. Knot holes indicate where great branches were. So it's really about death and decay and regeneration. Part of my projects is also always restraint. I mean, from the beginning I had rules that all the material, the industrial pipe, rod, and plate, they're not artist materials. Nothing is cast. It's extremely important that it acknowledges how it was made, the process, and that it's not a trick or an illusion. And so it's resonating and playing off of the real trees around it, but it's always clearly a fake. The boulder is called erratic. An erratic is a boulder or a stone that's been carried by a glacier or a river far from its original source. So usually it's deposited thousands of years ago, so the landscape has filled in around it and it looks like it's completely at home in its environment. Conceptually, I really love this idea of something that is foreign to its environment but seems quite natural and quite at home. It's kind of a metaphor for sculpture in general. With this piece, one of the challenges was taking stainless steel plate, which is one of the hardest to manipulate substances on Earth, and trying to transform that material into the undulations and rounded forms of a boulder. There's a whole period of research and developing of new tools and new techniques to make this translation happen. For me, the natural quality is almost a byproduct of the process. It's not my intention to make realism, but it is my intention to take these ideas as far as I possibly can.